I am so sick of robot babies. Everyone in this movie talks like a robot baby, and it is really irritating. That's my opener for this episode.
Yay! You did it. Congratulations.
I did it, yeah. But welcome,
yes.
everyone, to the Grease and Oil podcast, the only podcast on the internet that spends way too much time in excruciating detail looking into every single aspect of the terrible variety of Thomas the Tank Engine films that are out there. And believe me, there are far more bad than good.
And also, the only podcast with very loud typing noises in the background.
It's quite irritating, yeah.
So I'm going to be trying to do less typing in this episode.
Please, try.
Or at least if I do typing, it'll be on my phone. So.
Okay, try. Okay, so today, I don't know what Matt did, but I watched King of the Railway, and I spent almost 4 hours watching it because I had to keep pausing and writing notes, like I do, because I care about these movies way more than I should.
Yeah, like I said, you put way more effort into these podcasts than I do.
So you actually, did you rewatch it or no?
Definitely nope. But I remember it because I watched that. That was like one of my favorite movies when I was a little kid. Not anymore, though.
Now we have the amazing DC Cinematic Universe to focus our efforts on.
I was on the DC Cinematic.
So great.
I was on the DC Cinematic Universe Reddit today.
I was on the DC Cinematic Universe spin-off series wiki today. It was great.
Yeah, I was on the Reddit today, and it was just like a bunch of shit posts about Slipknot.
Why?
Our Lord and Savior Slipknot, because they don't have anything else to talk about.
Because Slipknot is so boring, and there's like 4 interesting characters in all of the DC movies.
Yeah, and Slipknot is just so...
Slipknot is not one of them. No, he's not.
He's amazing.
I actually didn't... It didn't register with me that he died in the movie, and so when I saw the movie and then I came back and I was like, watching reviews and stuff, and everyone's talking about Slipknot was so pointless. I was like, wait, who is this? He died? I actually didn't remember the part that he died because I was so bored during Suicide Squad.
Slipknot, the man who can climb anything.
I guess so. Yeah.
Anyways, guys, today we are going to be reviewing the very last Thomas CGI movie, Hallelujah.
And I'm so fucking glad because I'm sick of them. I'm so sick of them. These are the worst. This era, Hero of the Rails to Blue Mountain Mystery, is the worst era because even though The Great Discovery was written by Sharon Miller, it does not have the same plaguing problems as the Nitrogen films do. It really doesn't.
I'm sorry, I got distracted setting up a recording monitor so I could see how long we've been recording for, and I totally just spaced out with what you were saying.
I just said that the CGI movies are bad and that the models are still bad, but like not as bad.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
It's pretty accurate, I think.
Pretty accurate. Well, that said, let's dive right in there.
All right, so Matt, what are your initial ideas on opinions on Hero of the Rails, the 2009 film directed by Greg Tiernan?
I'm just happy that we didn't have a Diesel as a villain for once, because I mean, good lord, that was getting tiring.
So here's the thing with that is that the little kids, at least in the TCC, I know this, the little kids really like the Steamies versus Diesels conflict. They like this segregation because they're little angry white kids on the internet. And with that being said, that means that the TCC will probably be continuing in its Diesel-y themed whatever, which its Diesel resume. So,
and I will continue to not watch it.
Exactly. So these statistics mean that we are going to have future specials where it's Steamies versus Diesels because the little kids like that. The idea of the two different teams, the good guys and the bad guys. They like the basic Star Wars mentality of the Empire versus the Rebels, the good guys versus the bad guys. So, to see a film that doesn't have that is genuinely refreshing. Even though Misty Island Rescue had no villain, it still tried to do the whole Steamy versus Diesels thing, which failed because it was just like, oh yeah, we're just going to make this seem normal now. They made the whole... It wasn't like the Steamies versus Diesels thing was the main plot. It wasn't the big problem of the story. It was just a casual, hey, I don't like Diesels. moving on. That's
Misty
the
Island
normal
Rescue
Soto
had a
mentality,
villain.
which is why Misty Island was so terrible. Just like, yeah, just shrugs aside. Yeah, I hate diesels. Diesels are black people. I hate black people. That's not a good thing. Just to casually brush aside in your children's film. It was really weird and awkward.
Misty
and
Island's
quite
villain was
uncomfortable.
Sharon Miller.
What?
Misty Island had a villain, and it was Sharon Miller.
Misty Island had a villain, and it was the rocks that blocked them in the tunnel at the end. That was the bad guy.
Oh, that too, I guess.
That was the bad guy of the film. Was the rocks? The Rock is a bad guy.
The Rock is not a bad guy. The Rock's
The
actually
Rock
a great guy.
is a great guy. You're welcome. You're welcome. It's a great song. In Moana. If you haven't seen Moana, we're not going to review it because Matt doesn't like reviewing pussy movies. So yeah.
I was gonna go see Moana last weekend, but
And then you're like, I'm too cool to see an animated movie because I have a penis and testosterone. So
no,
yeah.
that's actually I was so you have no idea how excited I was to see Moana, but I was going there. I was going with my friend, and then we got really high, and went to Culver's, and we spent.
What's Culver's?
It's like a burger restaurant, a Midwest burger restaurant, and we spent like 2 hours at Culver's, and then we realized we were like hella late for the movie. And Passengers was the only other movie showing at the time, so we just went to go
You
see
saw
Passengers.
Passengers instead?
Because the movie was
Wait, how was Passengers?
fucking awful. It was so bad.
That's what I thought. I didn't think it was getting great reviews.
The only reason I watched Passengers is because it was the only other movie that was like showing at a time that was close to then.
Oh dear.
It was bad. Not even Chris.
It was a bad time in your life. You're getting high, watching terrible Chris Pratt movies.
Dude, buying tickets was such a struggle. Oh my god. That was so hard. Buying tickets while I was high. Would not recommend.
We here at the Grease and Oil podcast, we do not condone nor approve of any of the actions done by Mr. MPS. He is not a role model for all you little kids that watch these videos, which, I mean, we swear like hell, so don't even... We fucking swear a shit ton, so I can't condone anything we do, but especially not anything MPS does. And the most terrible thing that Matt did that day was seeing Passengers, not smoking weed.
For
but
sure.
Don't be like MPS. Don't see Passengers.
Don't see
ever.
Passengers. It's a waste of money. And I wasted my money even more because it was a 3D showing.
You saw 3D Passengers.
I saw 3D Passengers
like
while I was high.
That's like seeing 3D La La Land.
I saw 3D Passengers while I was high.
That's like seeing
Such a bad
Trolls
choice.
in IMAX. Why would you do that? That's like seeing Boss Baby in XD.
Oh my god. So bad decisions were made that day.
Bad decision. The only bad decision was seeing Passengers. But okay.
Yeah.
So, Hero of the Rails. We've been recording for almost 10 minutes now. Let's try and get through this. So, Matt didn't rewatch it, and I did, and I spent 4 hours because I had to keep pausing the movie because of all the notes that I was taking.
Probably should have rewatched it today, but I just spent the entire day just sitting in bed watching TV. So
Right. So, okay, so here's the thing, is that Misty Island Rescue is flawed on a fundamental level. It does not know, like, it doesn't have good morals, and it teaches kids bad lessons, not to mention it's just a bad film in general. There's bad animation, bad writing, bad characters, bad everything. There's nothing redeemable about Misty Island other than the opening credits and, like, one hero thing. That's it. This movie is... It's a solid C+ film. It's not great. It's not awful. It's just okay. And there's a lot of shit that they did wrong, and there's a good amount of stuff they did right. In terms of filmmaking, in terms of the characters, in terms of everything. It's a real decent movie. It is probably not as bad as Passengers. So what the moral of the story
that's
is...
going to be a grading scale. Is it better than Passengers?
Is it better? Is it a Passengers, or is it a Suicide Squad, or is it a Misty Island? You got the 3 levels of terrible, because Misty Island is so it's so far removed from reality or any sense of moral compass that any normal human being would have that it still baffles me how that film got released and was like shown in theaters and it was like approved by parents and shit. That's just baffling to me.
So is Chris Pratt's character in Passengers.
Is he not interesting? Wait. Even Chris Pratt made Jurassic World, somehow
I
interesting. He
love
made this
Jurassic
script for
World.
Jurassic World is such a basic film with basic characters and dumb stuff that happens. But Chris Pratt made the dumb character of Owen what's his face likable. So did he do the same thing in Passengers?
Sort of, I guess. He is the first. Oh, the movie's split up into like three thirds. The first third is like The Martian, basically, when he wakes up by himself. The second third is like a romantic comedy with him and Jennifer Lawrence. And the final third is
The third you corrected yourself. You were
yeah, I was gonna say the third
third.
third. The final third is them and also Lawrence Fishburne because he randomly just woke up out of nowhere trying to save the ship from
Lawrence,
exploding.
wait, Cowboy Curtis? Lawrence Fishburne is in this movie?
Yeah, okay, I'll give a synopsis basically. So basically, there's on a ship going
No,
to.
okay, no. Let's not give. No.
But yes, Lawrence Fishburne's in the movie.
Okay, so don't see Passengers. That's the moral
Don't
of the
see it,
story.
it's
Okay.
bad.
So, Hero of the Rails is a really bland, forgettable film, but it's not like it's not emotionally terrible. It's not written in a way that is harmful to your kids. It's just for the most of it, it's mindless nonsense that's just meant to reboot this franchise. Because as I was going to mention, I don't know why I say sentences like this, but okay. As the model series winded down, they were clearly running out of shit to do, and they're like, okay, well, we need to make it a cartoon now, and they made it a cartoon, and they rebooted it, and now the Sodor Railway is run by about 10 characters, the Steam Team, and Rosie, and Diesel, and Mavis. And that's it. Those are the only engines on the railway.
I would even argue Mavis, maybe not.
No, Mavis is in Hero of the Rails.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're just talking about in the movie. Okay, I thought you were talking about like...
In the movie, okay, so this movie has a very similar problem to Magic Railroad, where, so the film has a very similar problem to Magic Railroad in that because they can only show less than 10 engines working on the Northwestern Railway, most of them are usually in the same place in every scene, which means that, like, the rest of the railway is practically abandoned.
No,
like,
this-
Magic
it's
Magic Railroad, every scene that took place on Sodor had, like, 5 engines at least, like just around doing stuff or sitting in the sheds or something, which means that the rest of the railway is completely abandoned because throughout the entire film you only see like the Steam Team, or in this case the Steam Team plus Mavis and Rosie and Diesel, and they're only in like a couple shots. And it's good that they threw them in just so that it wasn't just the Steam Team, but like the scene of the docks when Spencer is talking to Thomas, and it's like, oh yeah, Percy's just sitting there, and Edward's just sitting there, and Gordon's just sitting there, and James is just sitting there, and you have, like, majority of the railway is just on this one little part of Brenham Docks, and it's like, so you're telling me the entirety of the railway is being run by, like, Edward and Henry and Emily? This entire railway is being run by 3 engines while you're busy? Or when they go for the race, and every single engine on the railway is just there in the shunting yards, it's like, okay, so you're telling me that Rosie is running this entire railway on her own right now? That's fucking insane. Are you kidding me? Is she pulling the express? Is she taking passengers? Is she taking long stone trains? Is this all Rosie and Mavis that are doing this? Are you crazy?
You already made a big mistake in this review. You referred to it as the Northwestern Railway. It's the Sodor Railway. Jeez.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got my TV series facts wrong, even though they call it the Northwestern Railway in the CGI series.
Oh,
So-
not like in the Nitrogen era, did they?
Not in the Nitrogen era, but it's still canon. Everything. So basically, this film, Hero of the Rails, basically pushed the reboot button, the reset button on everything that we knew about the TV show thus far. It wasn't saying that everything we knew was wrong before, but Great Waterton and the events of season 12 and the Great Discovery and everything before that were just sort of forgotten. Like, yeah, they kind of happened, but no, not really. This railway, you got the basics. They went back to the basics, and they just have 10 engines running the railway. 11, sorry, I can't count. 11 engines running the railway. And then slowly they add back, and now we have Charlie, and now we have Hiro and Victor and stuff. But at the beginning of this film, which is the beginning of the reboot, you just got the 11 engines running the railway, which means that all of the scenes that have a shit ton of engines in them feel really weird. It's like, why are you all just sitting around? This is a huge railway. What are you doing?
Apparently not, because they only need 13 engines to run it.
So, Okay, that's the thing. In this film is so, and it's not entirely a problem because this is the first time Nitrogen did anything. This was the first CG Thomas anything where it was completely computer generated, no models, which meant that they could only do so many things. You had Tidmouth Sheds, you had the main line, you had the quarry and the docks. That is, oh, and the Steamworks.
Which
So
were
those are
introduced in this movie, which are
they were
just
introduced in this
the
movie.
greatest.
So one of the biggest problems I have with this film is the fact that the pacing is so slow and they don't make it interesting. The majority of this movie is Thomas running around the main line, stopping at different points, and the main line looks the same because wait, I wrote it. I phrased it well earlier. Hold on, I wrote it in here somewhere. So, okay, the majority of the film takes place on the main line where there's like the same two tree models and the grass looks like a dirty carpet. It's so ridiculously boring. Most of the movie, there's one scene in the quarry, there's one scene at the docks, there's like 4 scenes at the Steamworks, and everything else is on the main line, and it's the same tracks, sighting, sighting tracks over and over again, and it's like they don't do anything to vary up the environments. Every shot in this movie looks the same because it's always the same time of day. There's like a couple night scenes and a couple sunset scenes, and by the way, in those night scenes, the engines' faces are so moist and sweaty looking.
Ew.
Everything. All the night scenes, the engine's faces look like a sponge that absorbed too much water that it can't hold, and it's like oozing. It's so gross. They're all shiny. It's like a piece of. It's like sometimes when you go to like a big city and the sidewalk is all sparkly. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It's like that. The engine's faces are made of sparkly concrete or just like really weird Play-Doh. It's not really noticeable in many of the day scenes, but in the night scenes, their faces look like a black cardboard box with little holes punched in it, and then like there's like a flashlight inside, and so all these weird dots are shining out of it. It's so weird looking. It's every single face is like, why are you glistening in olive oil? What did you do? What was your job today? Did you take like tankers of vegetable oil to the fucking ice cream factory? We know that's impossible because they couldn't render the ice cream factory. So what's wrong? I hate to quote Mr. Plinkett here, but what's wrong with your face? Sorry, I don't think many people got that joke.
I don't think anyone got that joke.
Did you get that? How did you not get that joke?
I don't watch Mr. Plinkett.
The Phantom Menace?
Oh, I watched that one.
The Phantom Menace review? What's wrong with your face?
But it was a long time ago that I watched it.
That's from the Phantom Menace review.
I know,
asshole.
but it was a long time ago. So fight.
The Phantom Menace is also a film that we should review on this podcast someday.
Yeah. You know what else is another?
When we run out of Thomas movies to talk about, we'll review Star Wars.
Which is gonna be soon, probably.
Which is gonna be in about a month or two when we run out of Thomas movies to talk about.
Yeah.
So we'll review all the Star Wars movies, and that requires me going out and buying the Clone Wars movie, and I don't want to do that.
Or you could just watch it illegally online.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's on YouTube somewhere.
Somewhere. Okay, yeah, somewhere. All right, so like I said, the majority of this film has a really bad pacing problem, but let's get through the big issues. So, the opening credits are very stylized, and they look like really old Art Deco railway posters. And other than Annie and Clarabelle's extra wheels, nothing is really wrong. Like the first minute is like, whoa, this is cool. They couldn't do this.
Be good.
Yeah, exactly. This could be interesting because they couldn't do this with the model series. Right off the bat, it's all stylized and it's totally different from anything we've seen from Thomas before, and it's really cool. And then the film starts with it's a beautiful summer day on the island of Sodor. However, they don't waste any time at all in this film. They get right to the plot immediately, and they introduce the audience to the location of the film, all of the characters, and the conflict of the story within the first 3 minutes. It's kind of good. Like, it's really quick, and it gets right to the point. It doesn't waste any time. In the first 5 minutes of the movie, there's no filler. It's just, okay, Island of Sodor, here are all of your characters, here is the villain. Bam, there you go. After that 3 or 4 minutes, then it gets into filler territory, and you just see Spencer going around the island, just sort of harassing all the engines. There's there are 2 separate instances for every engine on the railway where Spencer harasses them. He goes by every single engine twice. Each engine gets twice each. They each get their own special Spencer abuse scene. Like, Toby becomes disconnected from Henrietta in surprise. Like, what sparked that?
Also, why is Spencer even in this movie?
Because...
But, logically, why is he in this movie?
Okay, so the Duke and Duchess... The plot of the film is that the Duke and Duchess of Boxford are building a summer house, and they need Spencer to build it, even though he's a train.
Wasn't that also the plot in Edward the Great?
Yes. Wait, no, he was taking them to the... Wait, they already had a summer house!
Yeah.
Wait, why did they build another... What? Wait, now I'm confused. Why do they have to build an Edward Scissorhands topiary in the middle of the main line if they already had a fucking Edward Scissorhands topiary?
I'll look up the plot of Edward the Great. You keep talking.
I'm pretty sure Edward the Great is just Edward and Spencer... Oh my god, this is just Edward the Great!
Mm-hmm.
This is... Wait, okay. The plot of Edward the Great is that Spencer races a blue engine on Sodor, pulling a flatbed to the summer house.
Mm-hmm.
The plot of Hero of the Rails is Spencer races a blue engine pulling a flatbed to the summer house construction site.
Although he's also with a black and Asian engine, a Blasian engine.
What?
In this movie, he's with a Blasian engine.
You mean...
He's with Hiro.
But Hero's in the woods.
He raced... Oh, you're talking about at the beginning of the movie.
I'm talking about the beginning.
Okay.
Thomas.
I thought you were talking
about
about at the end where, Hero's Thomas, I'm falling apart.
Thomas is a blue engine pulling a flatbed. Edward, in the great race, or whatever the fuck the episode's called, is a blue engine pulling a flatbed with, machine parts on it or something. It's kind of weird. So the film starts out... It's very good with how it delivers its story, and the conflict is very upfront. There's no time wasted. However, it's not very interesting either. It's just very basic. Okay, here are the engines. Here's the bad guy. Here we go. And so Toby becomes disconnected from Henrietta. What sparked that? It seems like there would have been a junction Okay, there's a good thing we need on a T-shirt. Okay,
junction
so we got
malfunction.
A junction malfunction. We need that on a T-shirt. We need that on posters, coffee mugs, mouse pads, everything.
It's also a good band name. Okay? Junction malfunction.
You are our publicist. All right. So junction malfunction will be playing at your nearest old folks retirement center. We play smooth jazz, hip hop, classical dubstep, reggae.
Welcome back to the Junction Malfunction podcast.
Here is my host, the blue engine with the flatbed.
God, that is such a better name than Grease and Oil.
Junction Malfunction. That really is.
Should we change the name?
I think it's too late.
2017, new year, new name.
No, okay, so as you can tell, we're both very tired, and Matt is probably high. And again, we do not condone.
I'm not high right now. I'm not right now.
He's hungover.
But that's okay. I was last night.
Okay, so he's hungover.
I'm hungover.
He's hungover. So don't do what Matt does. That's what I'm saying.
Don't smoke weed, kids.
So don't. Okay, so throughout this film, it's also interesting to look at in retrospect. Not only does the animation look significantly cheaper and just underdeveloped in comparison to later, but also all of the voice actors in this film are so different from how they sound later, and not in a good way. Other than Emily and Henry sound about the same. All the other voices, James sounds different, Thomas sounds different, Percy sounds different. Percy isn't even high. If you look at Percy's. I'm talking about the U.S. I watched the U.S. dub today because I have the U.S. DVD. So Percy is usually the really high pitched guy, and season 15, he's really high pitched. I'm Percy, blah blah. In this movie, he's you can do whatever you want to, Thomas. But he's not really high-pitched. It's just ever so slightly different, and it's not really great, but it's certainly less grating than it was later on. So throughout this film, it's interesting to see how different the voice actors sound as they get used to their roles. James changes throughout the film into the James that we know. There's this weird James evolution that happens during this movie. At the beginning, he's watch my paint work. And at the very end of the movie, he's no, I talk like this, and this is the regular James voice. But at the beginning, I sounded like this.
In the middle of the movie.
Yeah, most of the engines go through puberty during during the running time of this film. So, so like I said, while we're on the subject of this, I find the fact that all the engines have American accents to be really jarring, but for whatever reason, I think it kind of works with Spencer. Not because of his backstory, because he comes from the mainland. Like, he should have a British accent, but he doesn't. His character suggests a really snooty, stuck-up, streamlined engine, but for whatever reason, I kind of like the fact that he has this weird American accent, and he talks like this. He talks like this all the time. Hello, Thomas. Hello, Percy. What are you doing? You're just a silly steamer. Look at Thomas's tricky tricks. I must stop him. And it doesn't work when you think about he's like this really stuck-up, streamlined British engine. But at the same time, they have this stuck-up, streamlined British engine hauling cargo and flatbeds this entire movie. You never see him pull coaches in this entire film, which is what he's designed to do. It's like if the villain of the movie was like Trevor the Traction Engine, and he was pulling cars of stone the whole time. It's like, what are you doing?
I would actually love a movie with Trevor the Traction Engine as the villain.
If Harold was pulling like express coaches and he was the villain of the movie, like, what are you doing? Why? It looks so weird when you're not pulling your red coaches, and he never pulls the Spencer red coaches in the entire. Spencer doesn't pull any coaches at all. This movie could have introduced a totally new bad guy, a totally new, different American. It would have worked better if they didn't use Spencer, because Spencer is this snooty British engine that is he's only meant for the most dignified jobs. He only pulls coaches. He only pulls the Duke and Duchess around Sodor. But the only thing he does in this entire movie is pull construction materials and dusty crates and dirty boxes and all of these weird things that Spencer would never be caught dead pulling. Like, why is he like, it would have been so much more interesting and would make sense more if the character had an American accent. If it was like, hello, I'm Frederick, I'm an asshole, I don't like Sodor. Or better yet, if he was a diesel. If he was a diesel,
okay,
that
well,
was.
I mean, you gotta be discriminatory like that.
Like if he was a diesel that was like Bowler D261.
Why wasn't Bowler just the villain for this movie?
Why wasn't Bowler just the villain? And he talks like this: "Hello, Thomas and Percy. Look, Thomas's tricky tricks."
What the
Spencer? There's absolutely no reason for Spencer to be the villain here, because he's not doing the things that we know Spencer to be doing. A stuck-up British engine who only pulls coaches. Here, he's just an asshole American engine who pulls freight cars the entire movie. That's not Spencer at all. Like I said, it's like seeing Thomas pulling fucking like Trevor's little teeny hay cart the whole time. Like, what do you? Why does the Flying Scotsman have Duke's tender? It's bizarre.
It's Duke's coal car, actually.
Oh yeah, like the wooden railway. Duke with coal car. It's like, what? You'd be gypped if you didn't have this. So why are you talking about you get a free coal car with Duke with every purchase? I would feel scammed if I didn't get it. Why are you?
If Duke didn't have a coal car, he would just be Bertram.
The wooden Bertram.
Bertram, yeah.
So okay, so Spencer is being an American asshole, and
why wasn't Bowler just the villain? I'm so mad that
Bowler should have been the villain, because he would have worked so much better as you Sodor engines are terrible. It would have worked better if he was talking about the steam engines.
The more I think about that, the better of an idea that is.
Sodor engines, but the fact that they're steam engines. I can't believe I'm saying this. This is the one time I want to see the Steamies versus Diesel rivalry, because there's no reason for Spencer to be a jerk American engine who's pulling freight the whole time. He's a stuck-up British engine who pulls passengers and would never be caught dead pulling freight. Why is he the villain here? It should have been a new character, or better yet, Bowler. If you're going to have CGI characters that are rendered specifically for this film, why not just bring back Bowler? You can make more toys out of bringing Bowler back than you could, because Spencer is already introduced in the Take and Play line and the Trackmaster line and the Wooden Railway line. You could make more money introducing Bowler or just a different American engine than you would making. It's actually a better business strategy if you introduced a new character rather than bringing Spencer in and having Spencer do something that Spencer would never be caught dead doing.
And while you're at it, not just one character, why don't you just introduce a whole bunch of international characters?
That's not what I meant, but okay. Like they should, like it would have been more interesting if Vinnie. This is so much more of a Vinnie story than it is Spencer. A big, angry American engine who pulls freight. That's Vinnie. That's not Spencer. Why is Spencer here? Okay, so
Not everything's about you.
You know what I mean? The Great Race character. So okay, so like I said earlier, the animation in this film is very amateur, but it definitely gives us something different and probably better than another special with the models. Like I feel like even though the animation is really poor in this film because it's so low budget and they're just experimenting with what they can do, this film is much better animated than if they just did it with the models, I think. This particular story with the new engine who falls apart and chase and whatever,
Yeah,
it would have
hard
been
to do
done.
this with the models.
It would have been executed much better with CG than with models, even if the CG looks fucking cheap the entire time. So, other little teeny nitpicks. When Spencer runs into Gordon, he's like, "Out of the way, slow coach. I'm pulling 5 cars," or whatever he says. Gordon's coaches are mixed up. He's got his brake coach first, and then his regular express coach last. It looks kind of weird. It's like it's like when they film with the models and like Magic Railroad, they mixed up Annie and Clarabelle, and they flipped around Annie and Clarabelle, and Annie was facing like backwards and Clarabelle was facing forwards. It's like that. It's kind of weird.
I think you and Ted are the only two who really care about the express coach thing. Honestly.
Okay, whatever. It just looks weird because the brake coach is like specifically made to look different and specifically like put this one on the end of the train. We make an effort to tell you to put this one on the end of the train, and it's not on the end of the train. Okay, whatever. So, why is Toby pulling a train of really long, heavy pipes? Like, why did you give this really heavy maintenance job to this tiny little tram engine that probably shouldn't be doing this? And then he's like, "Oh, I missed my green light." Or sorry, he doesn't say it. The fucking narrator does, because every single line the narrator has in this film is pointless. This is the film that really overemphasized the role of the narrator, because the model series is the one that should have been the storyteller thing, because the engines' mouths don't move, and the engines don't have different voices. So you have to have the narrator telling everything like it's a book. When you have the CGI, you can see the characters, and you hear the engine's different voices, and you see them speaking, which means you don't need to say, "Thomas puffed, he huffed and chuffed."
Did the Great Race have a narrator?
Yeah, but it was done in a tasteful way that was not at all the way that it's done here.
I'd like to see a movie just without a narrator, honestly.
The narrator, when they make that live-action film someday, when I direct a live-action Thomas film, I will make sure there is no narrator.
Can't wait.
I promise you that.
Can't wait.
So, yeah. So, basically, this film puts way more of an emphasis on the storyteller than it should have, because it's trying to be different and saying, "Oh, we have voices now. Oh, it's animated. Oh, we see their lips moving now." But there's no reason for the narrator if you're having these things. If you're abandoning the whole, "Dear Christopher, here is your friend Thomas the Tank Engine," the fact that it's being read like a story, if that's not being done anymore, then what's the point in having the narrator anymore? And he says everything way too much. You have a CG animated film with characters with original voices. You're a Pixar movie now with, B minus, C minus Pixar animation. So just fucking tell it like it's a movie, not like it's a dumb story, because you moved on. So, again, every single train is missing a brake van. At this point, whatever. But the thing that's different here that I don't think they ever had a problem with afterwards is every single train here is at least one flatbed. Throughout the entire film, I think you see the troublesome trucks like once when Emily's pulling them at the beginning. Every single train, when it's just, "Oh yeah, Thomas is working on the branch line," or, Edward and James are pulling this, every single train is like a flatbed with either hay or crates on it. Every single train, unless it's the mail train or that one weird coal train at the beginning, is just flatbeds. It's kind of weird. The entire railway consists of flatbeds in this movie. It's really bizarre because no one can do anything other than carry flatbeds of hay and crates, and then the weird pipe train that Toby was pulling. So, yeah.
That pipe train's really bothering you, isn't it?
The pipe train's really bothering me because Toby would never be able to pull that, and they would never assign this really, really long, heavy train of huge, aluminum pipes.
That's the thing that's really pissing you off?
No, not the thing, per se.
But it's a thing.
It's a thing. So the dialogue is better than Misty Island, but not by much. Like I said earlier, every single character that is not Hiro or Victor sounds like a robot baby. They're just, "I don't like this. I am sad. I should save Hiro. I don't like Spencer. I like Victor. Everything, there is no, where did I write this? All of the dialogue is so simplistic in its design. There's nothing conversational or natural about the way that anyone speaks in this movie. It's just exposition in the most basic form. I'm happy. I'm a jerk. I don't like you. Well, I don't like you. Well, blah, blah, blah. Well, blah, 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 blah. Everyone says there's no, other than when Victor is talking to Thomas, there is no, like, hi, I'm a human, not a human, but I'm a real person that thinks and doesn't just say, oh no, I have to do this. I'm the good guy. I'm the bad guy. Blah, blah, blah. There's everything they say is just, it's like K2SO in Rogue One where they say, oh, he doesn't have a filter over what he says. He just says everything that comes to his mind. That's everyone in this movie. Everyone in Hero of the Rails is K2SO from Rogue One.
I still haven't seen Rogue One yet.
Everything they say is just, oh, well, I am good. Well, I am bad. Well, I need to do this. Well, I popped a valve. Well, everyone fucking breaks in this movie, too.
That's true.
Everyone breaks. Percy breaks. Thomas breaks. Thomas breaks his brakes.
Hiro breaks like 5 times.
Hiro falls apart like 5 times because they put his boiler on, but it's 2 guys in blue suits with a toolbox in the woods. Unless Thomas's driver is Superman, how the hell did he move? How the hell did they replace Hiro's boiler without a fucking crane? It's 2 guys with a toolbox in the woods, and they built a goddamn steam engine out of nothing.
For some reason, I really wanted the Wooden Railway Patchwork Hero when I was little. The Toys R Us exclusive.
This movie, I mean, for whatever reason, I don't know why, just because I'm that Wooden Railway guy, but for whatever reason, I really wanted to buy a Patchwork Hero after watching this movie. Like, it was good marketing. I wanted to buy it. I have regular Hero.
I should have sent you that for Christmas.
The Patchwork Hero is pretty cool. I kind of wanted it, but that's okay. I wanted Neville more, and you gave me Neville, so that's cool.
did.
Thank you. Your package was sent like 2 days ago, by the way.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
So you're gonna get it.
Cool.
It just took forever. Because your second item didn't arrive. I bought you 2 things, and the second one didn't arrive. It took forever, but it's
Did
all
it
shipped.
come
It's on
eventually?
its way. Yeah, it came.
Okay, the way you were putting it sounds like it just didn't come, so I just sent you the package.
No. The 2 things are both in the box, and it's on its way to Nebrahoma, Minnesota.
Just get an empty box from Vinnie Smith, Redwood City, California.
So, so Spencer's at the docks, and he tells Thomas, "Well, you're just an asshole. You can't pull as many cars as me." And Thomas is like, "Yes, I can, even though you can't. Why is this such a big deal to Thomas that I'm just as strong as Spencer?" No, you're not. This is like a 5-year-old kid arguing that he can't. I can play basketball as well as Kobe Bryant. What? No, you can't. You're a 5-year-old kid. What are you talking about? You were specifically designed not to pull heavy trains. Spencer was. So what are you doing?
Even that, Spencer almost never actually
Even then,
pulls heavy
Spencer doesn't
trains.
pull. That's why this film would have worked so much better if Spencer was a new character, if he was Vinnie, if he was Bowler, if he was another engine that was specifically meant to pull freight and not this snooty, stuck-up, like, prissy little British character. Why was he, I'm Spencer, I can pull freight? What? This isn't Spencer at all. What are you talking about? So they fucked up Spencer, but what they do with Spencer is mildly interesting. It's not great. It's just, he's an okay villain. It's interesting to see a villain in a Thomas film, because most of the time they don't even have that.
Yeah, that's true. What was there even a villain in The Great Discovery?
No, there wasn't.
It was
Thomas was kind of villainized.
It was Pierce Brosnan's narration. That was the villain.
Thomas was so sad. Thomas was so sad. I'm going to tell you how sad he was. He was really sad.
I used to be James Bond. Can you believe I've fallen this far? So,
so another issue with the film is that it's kind of a good thing and a bad thing that the pacing is so slow, because it takes time. It tries to take time to get into the characters, which is good in a movie that has so many characters, but none of the characters are written interestingly, other than the characters they don't focus on. Mavis is funny, Victor is funny, Hiro is interesting, but they don't spend any time trying to develop them. They spend so much time with Thomas and Percy and fucking Spencer, and none of them are, like, realistic characters. They all talk like babies. But like I said, in Misty Island, there's not a single child voice actor in this film, which means that you don't even there's not a single child voice actor in this film, but all of the characters talk like children and they sound like children, which is just weird because they're all adults who say, "I feel badly. I am not good. Hi, Spencer.
Is I feel badly?
Like
Is that
you."
actually correct grammar?
No, it's not. It'd be
shit,
I feel
forgot you told me
bad
not to
or I'm
type.
sad. You wouldn't say I feel badly. That's
I
not.
forgot you told me not to type.
Yeah, so don't fucking type. Jeez.
Okay,
All right,
I feel badly. I feel badly means you are having difficulty in feeling at all.
Yeah, exactly. You
So,
feel badly.
yeah.
It's not. That's like basically if you feel
You're bad at
badly,
feeling.
you don't know. You're like Sheldon Cooper in The Big Bang Theory, where you can't like emote properly. You can't read other
You're
people's
bad at
emotions.
feeling.
You're not. You can't read sarcasm. That's when you feel badly. But that's also Misty Island Rescue, and that's not the movie we're talking about here.
Yeah, we got distracted talking about how bad Misty Island was again.
We always go back into Misty Island because Misty Island is a fucking abomination. It's an aborted child that turned evil. That's that movie.
On the level from Passengers to Misty Island, it's a Misty Island.
Yeah. So Thomas challenges Spencer to a fucking fight in the schoolyard, and it's pathetic because this is a little scrawny kid fighting the huge American dude who's just, "I can beat up you. I'm 5 years old. My best friend is Pussy." That's another
That
weird
was
thing
so
with this
scary.
movie.
That was such a good little kid voice.
Every single time that Thomas and Percy are together, they always have to address that they're best friends. There's literally a scene at the docks where Thomas and Percy are there, and they frickin' say, it's so funny. They say, "You're my best friend, Thomas." Thomas and Percy were best friends. Thomas knew that Percy was his best friend. They say
and would always be his best friend.
No, they literally. I did it too much, but in the movie they say it twice. Percy says, "'Cause you're my best friend." Thomas knew Percy was his best friend. What? Why did you have to say that twice? Why did you even have to say that once? The entire film is every time Percy and Thomas are together, they're just like, "Okay, Thomas, my best friend." It's so weird. Okay, so they challenge him to a fight, and the lighting in the shunting yard scene is like one of the 5 examples of interesting scene composition ever done by Nitrogen. Almost every single scene that they've ever animated, not just in this movie, but like the entire show, feels exactly the same because all of the lighting is always the same. It's like Train Simulator. It's always the same time of day with the same lighting, and it's just fucking boring. And that boring, like the attention to detail that's been completely lost is accentuated by every single shot, and the majority of the scenes in this film are on the main line in some random sighting. Or they just stop. It's just the main line. It's the same set, and it's the same 5 trees over and over again. It's the same piss-stained rug grass over and over and over again. And it's not interesting. The entire movie takes place in the main line, and it's so boring. Even when they say, "Oh yeah, Thomas was on the branch line," the branch line looks the same as the main line. Thomas might as well be working on the main line because it fucking looks like the main line. So why even bother saying that it's the branch line? Which is like the one thing I can say that they did well is the fact that this is the first time they mentioned Thomas's branch line since season 8. But it doesn't even matter because he doesn't pull Annie and Clarabelle at all. Annie and Clarabelle appear in 2 shots of this movie. Those 2 shots being the first shot and the second shot of the movie. That's it. So why even fucking bother? Okay. It does not.
Why was Hiro... They might have explained this in the movie, but again, I didn't rewatch it. Why is Hiro just on a random-ass sighting off to the side, no one knows?
That's never really well explained, because they keep saying, "Oh yes, I was left alone and my parts never came." That's not a reason to abandon you on the sighting and forget you.
Did the workers just have the worst memory ever? I think we're supposed to do something important.
Both Glenn and Hiro were abandoned on a sighting, and I don't get it. The Sudrian people are so fucking forgetful about. All right, so whatever you do, don't leave Thomas on the sighting for more than a day. Why? Well, what happens? We forget it. The curse. It happens again. We forgot an engine, and you'll forget Thomas forever, and then we can't make money off of a franchise. Oh,
remember shit. Glenn? No, exactly.
It's a fucking curse. It's like I forget what they're called, like the Ooh, not the Ooh. There's a character. No, there's a character. There's an alien species in Doctor Who, and their whole thing is that once you see them, what?
You already lost me with the Doctor Who.
No, I'm trying to keep it brief here. So there's a weird alien species. I forget what they're called, but they look like the Cantina Band from Star Wars. They look like giant butts, and basically, once you see them, you forget them. I forget what they're called, but that's their whole thing, so they can sneak up on you. When they're not weeping angels. They're different. They're like weird Cantina Band faces, and once you see them, you forget them. And that's basically Glenn and Hiro. And just like, once you see them, it's like, oh, well, we just left them on a siding forever. What the fuck? How do you forget? Okay. I need to stop talking.
It says here that they're literally called the Silence.
Yes, there they are. Really creative name, guys.
Oh no! The specific term for them
Fucking
is
Steve Moffat. Jeez.
It's a silent and to the silence.
That's them. Those are the ones. They look like the Cantina Band. So
yeah, they do. I looked them up on Wikipedia.
So okay, so like I said, the race between Spencer and Thomas is completely pointless from the start. There is absolutely no reason that Spencer wouldn't win, and when he does, then what? I'm built for speed, and you're built for shunting. What's been gained?
Congratulations, Spencer, you proved it.
You proved the thing that everyone already knew. I'm a strong tender engine, and you're a shunting little tank engine that just stays in the yard. Yeah, that's true, Spencer. What are you trying to say? Like, they do this multiple times, especially in the big climactic chase at the end between Thomas and Spencer, where Thomas is somehow faster than Spencer, which is really weird. But okay, so they make a whole thing. The whole point is that it's Thomas versus Spencer. This whole movie, the big underlying theme is like, being strong and sticking up for yourself and showing that you're as good as they are. But you're not. Thomas is so much slower and isn't built for the same stuff Spencer was. Spencer should have been this really strong American engine, or if they're trying to make it seem like Thomas is feels intimidated by Spencer, then why wouldn't you have Spencer and Thomas be the same size? Why wouldn't Spencer, the Spencer character, the villain character of this film, would work either as this giant American engine or a tank engine that's just about as big as Thomas, and then Thomas feels intimidated by him? Because then they would have the whole racing thing and the strength and all that would make sense because they're about the same size, and you would find out, who really is the strongest? If you look at Spencer and Thomas, it's like, who's the strongest? This weak, frail old man or this 35-year-old baseball player from Cuba?
Why did you have to specify that he was from Cuba?
Because he's Victor, and Victor is Cuban.
Oh.
So, okay. So the race is pointless, and also, are the flatbeds in the race, are they meant to be going somewhere? Is there a finish line for the race where these supplies need to be delivered? Or they
fact that you are asking these questions and you're the one that watched the movie says a lot.
Are they just... Yeah, there's so many... This entire film is just the engines going around stealing cars and then abandoning cars on the main line. There are so many points in the movie where it's like, there is no... Okay, maybe it's the fact just that the Soto Railway is being run by 10 engines and the fact that you won't be able to run into anyone for a while. Because in this movie, the railway is so vast and so big that I guess you can just leave mail cars on the main line for 4 days and nobody finds them, let alone runs into them and has a serious accident. But whatever. So the flatbeds, so they're just random flatbeds laying around the yard, but they are all full of really heavy supplies. Do these need to go somewhere, or you just... What's the fucking deal with these flatbeds? It's really bugging me, because...
No, they're just kind of hanging out.
This entire movie, all of the rolling stock, when it's not specified, when it doesn't matter what the rolling stock is, because there's a whole thing with Percy, and Percy's connected to his mail cars, so that's why they're mail cars. If it wasn't Percy, the lost mail cars would have just been more flatbeds, because every single... there's multiple scenes in this movie where Thomas was busy, Thomas was working really hard on his branch line. Every single train is just one or two flatbeds that have either hay or crates on it. Edward and James are pulling a flatbed. Thomas and Percy are pulling a flatbed. Thomas pulls 15 different flatbeds on this movie, but they all look the same. And it's really, really weird because there's no you can't pull troublesome trucks. You can't pull your own fucking coaches, especially when they keep saying Thomas was working on his branch line. No, this is the main line, and you're pulling one flatbed. What are you doing? So, okay. So the flatbeds, they go on this little race, and like I said, every single line the narrator says is, he blinked, and he blinked. So Sharon just loves and, because she uses it in 8 times in the span of 30 seconds. He raced and he roared. Spencer snarled and smiled. It's over and over is the blank and blank. He blanked and then he blanked.
He puffed and he chuffed.
Like the whole joke about everyone joking about how Sharon is such a terrible writer, it all stems from right here. This very scene when they're racing is just, he heaved and he hauled, he puffed and he chuffed. There's like 10 different sentences in the span of a minute that are, he blanked and he blanked. And they never say Thomas blanked, they said he, because both of the
it's he. It's always he.
Both of the characters are
That's
male.
right.
Both of the characters are pulling flatbeds. They just say he over and over again. It's really boring.
So if you were a blind person, you would have trouble with this movie.
You really would, yeah. You'd be fucked. You'd just be listening to really weird American, like if you gave the synopsis of the franchise and then you showed them this movie, it's like, so what you're saying is Thomas is a little tank engine that lives on a British island. Spencer is a British engine who only pulls passengers, right? Yeah, right. So then why are both Thomas and Spencer American, and both Spencer and Thomas throughout the entire film only pull flatbeds?
Just watch the movie.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So Thomas's brakes break somehow. So now he's like a runaway engine, and he runs into a car of potatoes, and he runs into a car of jelly, both of which are just sitting on the main line doing nothing. It is the only time in the film where the cargo is creative, but out of all the things they could have done to be creative, you just have wagons full of potatoes, just filled high, no crates of potatoes, they're just potatoes. Like there's like it's like the bubble loader. It's like somewhere on Sodor there is a potato hopper.
Guys, I just realized that in Calling All Engines, Thomas or Diesel or someone brings a truck full of bananas to Tidmouth Sheds.
That's true.
Oh my god. That's
Diesel,
in 2 weeks.
Diesel brings carts and carts of potatoes to Tidmouth Sheds for a construction project.
Bananas.
I said, yeah, you're right.
You said potatoes.
I said potatoes, you're right.
You silly goose.
Okay, so Thomas is on the main line, and he's a runaway engine, and he's covered in jam. I don't even know why the potatoes were necessary, because none of the potatoes were, like, resonated on him. Sharon Miller just really felt like putting potatoes into her Thomas movie for some reason. So there's a scene with potatoes, and there's a scene with jelly. And he's on the main line, and then all of a sudden he's on an abandoned track. There's no, like, he swerved out of control onto, like, an abandoned track. He's just on the main line, and then he's on an abandoned track that no one's ever been on before. How does that happen? How did he get on the abandoned track? He cuts from being on the main line to an overgrown trestle in like 2 seconds. Think about how cool it would have been if they showed that the signalman had fallen asleep like old times, and it would have been really cool because this is a reboot. This is basically the Star Trek reboot. Star Trek, the 2009 movie where they're like, hey, here are the things that you know about Thomas, and we're doing something different, but it's CGI now. It's a reboot of the franchise we already know. How cool would it have been if they did a callback where it's like, the signalman had fallen asleep and Thomas went onto the abandoned track? That would have been so interesting, but it just cuts from the main line to an abandoned line, just randomly. And, okay, so Thomas is in the woods now, covered in jam, and his brakes are broken. How does he start up again and then stop if his brakes are broken? That's
a good question.
The basic concept of Thomas being broken, that's not a complicated thing. It's not like his safety valve had sprung a leak and this and that and some fancy train talk. It's just his brakes are broken. That's a simple concept for a kid's film. Okay, he can't stop. So then he stops. And then he starts up again and then he stops. So are your brakes broken or are they not? Make up your fucking mind. So
apparently not.
It's at this point in the film where Martin Sherman completely gives up. He tried a little bit at the beginning. Martin Sherman, the voice actor for Thomas in the US, manages to actually sound worse than he does in Misty Island Rescue and subsequent films. His voice is really deep and awkward throughout most of the dialogue, and he just barely conveys emotion. Most of the time it's just, I will help you, Hiro. I like Hiro. Hiro, you are my friend. Hiro, you're a good friend. Hiro. Hello, Hiro. Hello, Thomas! And with that being said,
scary.
the only three characters in this film that are actually interesting and convey emotion, and they're not just, I don't like you, Thomas. I don't like you, Hiro. Wait, Spencer. Spencer.
Yeah.
I can't talk. I'm so out of it. The
When you're
only
finished
three
going on about
characters
this, can we talk about the Soto Steamworks for a second?
we're about to get there.
Okay, good.
So
'cause I
the
have kind of a
only three
problem.
characters that convey emotion and are genuinely funny characters that you're like, hey, you feel like a real person and not just a person. You don't sound like a voice actor in a recording studio reading terrible dialogue that sounds like a baby. You sound like a real person. The only three characters that do that in this entire film are Hiro, Victor, and Mavis. And Mavis only has one scene, so I barely even count her because she's also not even a new engine. So it's pretty much just Hiro and Victor. So Thomas runs into Hiro, and he teleports halfway through the scene, because at the very beginning of the scene, Thomas is like 10 feet away, like 10 yards away from Hiro. He's really far away. And then while Hiro's talking, Thomas teleports to like fucking 6 inches away from his buffers. Like, he's really freaking close. And the camera very clearly shows that it's behind Hiro, and you can see. I'm doing hand gestures that no one can see because this is a podcast, but I always do that when I'm reading. I don't know why. I always do hand gestures, but I'm doing hand gestures showing that there's like very little space between them, and they teleport halfway through the scene. So it's really weird because Thomas's brakes are broken anyways, but whatever. So Hiro is saying, oh, hello, Thomas. I like you. You're hot. Oh, that's a little weird. You're a hot little Japanese girl because I'm used to hot little Japanese girls, and let me tell you about Japan. And he tells his little story about Japan. And of course, the animation is really cool when Hiro goes into his flashback. It's one of the few times in the film that the filmmakers actually took advantage of the fact that it's animated, and they showed us something interesting that could not have been done with the models. And it's really stylized and creative, and it's good. And it's like 20 seconds long. Whatever. Okay, so he arrives on Sodor, and like we talked earlier, we talked about how the fact he's abandoned in a bush and nobody remembers him, and that's really bizarre, especially since their Topham Hatt later on knows who Hiro is, and he's talking about, I know who Hiro is, blah, blah, blah. He's the master of the railway. Why didn't you tell me earlier, Thomas?
The master of the railway.
They really like to use that term as if it means something to us, as if we know
Yeah,
what
they
the
sure
master
do.
of the railway means.
They really do.
But
he's the controller of the railway.
He is
duh.
the master. He's the master controller. He is the transformer on the layout, on the HO scale layout of the railway. What? They keep using master of the railway like it's a term that we know, or it's like some kind of railway terminology, but it doesn't mean anything, and they just reiterate it over and over again. But okay, so like I said, Hiro's story is really interesting and actually makes you kind of sympathetic towards the character, and it's immediately ruined by the dumb Sir Topham Hatt will get rid of you excuse that plagues both this film and Blue Mountain Mystery. In both of the films, Thomas discovers a character that has either been lost or did something wrong, and nobody knows that they're there other than Thomas. And they don't tell Sir Topham Hatt or Mr. Percival just because they'll get rid of you. Why is that the excuse? And in both films, they're proven wrong. Thomas has already learned this lesson, so why does he do it again in Blue Mountain Mystery, which is a film also, surprise, surprise, written by Sharon Miller?
You're getting so heated.
I'm getting heated because it's dumb. It's not nearly as dumb or fundamentally flawed as Miss Gallon Rescue, but it's still pretty bad. So Hiro's story is interesting. His voice actor is really good, and it sounds like he's conveying genuine emotion, and it's great. And then we go to the Steamworks.
Oh boy, here we go.
How? Thomas's brakes are
hate the
broken, and he's
Steamworks.
left in the middle of the woods with a broken Japanese homeless man. How does he... They just cut to the Steamworks and Thomas is there. How the hell did he get there if he's got a broken pair of brakes and he can't move?
I hate the Steamworks, or at least I hate the way the Steamworks is used in this movie.
Really?
Because this was the first like major start of the whole big, oh yeah, let's go to this random destination that's totally been on the island for the entire time.
That's the first time they really did that. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it's the first really big one, and I hate that so much. That's one of the tropes in the Thomas series that I hate so much. It's just, and then we
They don't
Victor
really
and
introduce.
Hiro.
They
Victor
very
and
rarely
Kevin.
introduce locations anymore.
And they mostly just, they introduced enough locations now, just randomly, that they have enough to use. But it's like, and then they introduced Victor and Kevin fucking stupid and sucks.
I think Kevin works in this movie because he's only in very small doses. But in every other instance, he doesn't work. Because he's just repetitive and he never learns his lesson. But if it's his first instance and he's brand new or whatever, and he's just here, and he's only in like 3 scenes, so I think it works. Just in this movie, afterwards, it doesn't work. But in the context of the context of just Hero of the Rails, it works fine. And so Thomas gets to the Steamworks, and how does he get there? It's never explained. But with that being said, the Steamworks, at least in this scene in particular, is really interesting, and I'm really glad that this was the location that they introduced in the film, and it's kind of necessary in a movie about repairing and healing and learning and fixing things. It's really good that the location they introduced is a place about fixing things. That's a good parallel in the storytelling, in the themes and morals of the film, and the actual merchandise that you're making off of the film. It's a good connection. It's probably the only time they ever did that. It's not like Misty Island Rescue is about avoiding hillbillies. That's not the moral of the film, and there's not a clever connection between those two. But they do it in this film, and it's good. So, like I said earlier, both Hiro and Victor are extremely charismatic, which is something that this film uses to its advantage. Both of the voice actors are the best, easily the best in this film, and you're drawn to them immediately because most of the time, like I said, they don't speak like creepy robot babies. Misty Island has one likable new character, and Captain barely fucking spoke, so it's good that there's the parallel, and the fact that this film used its new characters to its advantage, and they're likable people. They're good people, and you want to see them more on screen. Misty Island, all the new characters are just, you're either just sort of tolerable or unbearably annoying. So that's the big comparison.
Taking a little sip of water.
Okay, because you've been speaking so much. Is that why?
No, was that you taking a sip of water?
No, that's me swallowing all the saliva that I've developed on the side of my mouth for talking so quickly, so frequently.
That's disgusting.
Yep. Despicable. Sorry.
Disgraceful.
Mm-hmm. So, also in this scene, it's kind of surprisingly well written. Dialogue that is written by Sharon Miller that isn't terrible is shocking and very jarring, but it's in this scene, and it's really good. So it seems like Victor is the only sensible Injun and mature person on this island, like Injun or human. He's really great, especially when he's talking to Spencer. He's like a really cool uncle that doesn't respect his brother and jokes about his father to his kid. Like, it's really funny. And plus, he's the one who actually brings back the idea of Thomas working on his branch line. Like, you never see Annie and Clarabelle, but he's the first person in this film that says, you should be working on your branch line. And it's cool. And he's a charismatic guy, and he's a really cool guy based on his design, based on his face, based on his character, and based on his voice actor. It's all really well done. Which, like I said earlier, is something that is never really done again, especially in Misty Island and Day of the Diesels. Neither one of them has very charismatic new characters or lead characters. But Victor's just a cool guy, and you want to hang out with him. He's like a cool uncle. And for all the scenes that he's in, you feel like you can trust him, and he's a good character, and he's not just, I don't like you, I like you, I pull coaches, I pull trucks, but not in this one. It's just really weird.
Don't test me.
On what?
Just this movie. Don't test me on this movie.
I know.
I don't like this movie.
I know too much about this movie.
So. Also, don't test me on the Sodor Steamworks, because especially the wooden railway version of the Sodor Steamworks, it's so bad.
It's okay. Really bad. I think it's okay.
It's good. It would be a lot better if it wasn't trying to be the Sodor Steamworks.
Yeah,
because it's such a bad representation of the Steamworks.
But okay, so like I said, in the beginning of the first Steamworks scene, you actually see like humans working around and like smelting and making things.
Ooh, man.
And I guarantee that was an addition done by Greg Tiernan, the director. There's no way that Sharon included in her script anything that had to do with humans. Because this is the first time in the entire movie that you actually see humans walking around and doing stuff. The first 20 minutes of this film are basically Magic Railroad because it's devoid of all humans, all people, all workmen, all passengers. Sir Topham Hatt doesn't show up. There are no humans in the first 20 minutes of this movie, and it's really weird because it has that Magic Railroad vibe where there's only like 5 engines on the island and none of them have drivers. Or in this case, act like they have drivers. You get what I'm saying?
Yes. Sorry.
I
thought you had more to say.
There's 0 engines and there's 0 people, and it's just an island devoid of any human life. So the Steamworks being a real place where people are working and actual like doing work is something that I guarantee Sharon Miller had absolutely nothing to do with, because she wrote this film like it's the same. It takes place in the same universe that Magic Railroad does, And that's not good, because Magic Railroad didn't take place in a good universe that you'd want to say your film in. So
I would like to see, like, a version of Magic Railroad
where
from,
there's
like, a
people
different perspective. Yes. Yeah, exactly.
and like more than
like
five
a
engines.
normal-ass person's perspective. Just, like, watching Diesel 10 chase Thomas and Lady around sort of with his big-ass
Some
claw.
dude is
Going,
sitting.
"Grrr!"
Some dude is sitting on his porch, sipping his coffee, reading his newspaper, and he looks up from his newspaper for a second, and he sees Diesel 10 going by, or like he looks like he's some weird hillbilly who lives on like the edge of the edge of the canyon in the middle of nowhere, and he's just some hillbilly like playing a banjo, and he looks over and it's like, hey, there's a diesel with a claw over there dangling a man off of a bridge. Should I go stop it?
Or what do you think the guy
probably
that
not.
was driving the barge was thinking, like, when Diesel 10 fell down?
He probably
into
didn't
the
even
barge?
notice it, because like he showed up at the docks and he's like, okay, I got my barge full of literal actual pig feces, and who's it? There's a giant, there's a claw? What the, oh my god, it's got a face! God!
And then Diesel 10 just like, hey, what's up?
He raised his pinchy bit. Hey, what's up?
What's up? Well, did you
Pound
hear
it,
about the
bro.
original... The original intended ending for Thomas and the Magic Railroad was that C Jr. was going to turn Boomer into sludge with his magic bandana.
Yeah, that was a little weird.
Little bit.
Yeah,
That
so,
would've been kind of amazing, though. Well, we got so off topic.
yeah, so although it's explained to us in blatantly obnoxious ways, the setup for the conflict is pretty well done during... Like, there's a lot of filler, and it's done really slowly because they want to eat up the running time. This film could have been, like, 2 or 3 episodes. They could have done, like, a Dinos and Discoveries where they did 2 or 3 episodes, and it would have been fine. But this film drags out everything to an excruciating length, but what they do with it is really good. If they trimmed all the boring Thomas goes here, Thomas goes there, Thomas goes here, Thomas goes there, Thomas goes here, Thomas goes there, because that's the entire film. It's just Thomas leaving trucks on the main line and telling Percy to do this. Most of the movie takes place on the main line, and like I said, it's not interesting, but the way that they explain the conflict when Thomas stops and says, Spencer's working at the summer house. The summer house is close to Hiro. I don't like this. Like, he says it like a robot, but for a children's film, there's a very clear setup. You're not really confused on the basic concept of why is this good? Why is Spencer working so close to this a bad thing to the main plot of Hiro? You know how this connects, and it's done in a decent way for a kid's film, but it's filled by so much boring filler. It's so excruciating with every single, we'll go to the Steamworks, we go to the quarry, we go here, we go to the main line, we'll go with here, and we'll go with the farm, we'll go back and forth, and here's Hiro. And it's slowly building Hiro, and the pacing is okay, but it's just monotonous. It's so boring.
Yeah, I don't have anything to argue with that on.
So we're 20...
Also, I'm pretty sure we're at an hour now.
So, okay, we're going to keep going here. So, like I said, we're 20 minutes into the film, and
Oh my God.
only now we are introduced to Sir Topham Hatt. He addresses the fact that his engines spend most of the day doing nothing, but he doesn't do anything about it, nor does he make it seem like it's much of a problem, which is a really big issue when you're trying to teach little kids morals about doing the right thing. You can't make it seem like the rules are so easily bendable when you're teaching kids these basic morals about do your chores and do this. When Sir Topham Hatt's like, yeah, Thomas, maybe get the mail cars today or tomorrow. Maybe it's the next day. There's no repercussions that he has towards anything.
Do you have anything more to say to add to that one? Because, I mean, you said a lot. That was a long sentence.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So another thing I noticed right off the bat with Sir Topham Hatt is I was talking with Turtles last night, and he actually brought up...
Name drop!
What?
Name drop!
Name drop. Turtles and Thomas. You should subscribe to him. He's a pretty great guy. So I was talking with him last night, and he brought up something I didn't even realize. In season 12, if you look at Sir Topham Hatt, it's the first CG Sir Topham Hatt that we had, and his collar is not 3D. It's painted on like the wooden figure. The collar of his jacket is just a white line it's drawn on, and then in Hero of the Rails, it's actually like a 3D thing. But it's like that. Like I gotta give him props. I gotta point out the obvious, but I gotta give them points for doing something right in this movie.
You didn't notice that Sir Topham Hatt's that his thing was just like a line?
His collar is just a white line in season 12, like the model series. He's a CG,
You didn't notice that?
3-dimensional character who's moving and living, but his jacket is a white line. And in Hero of the Rails, they actually fixed it, and it's a real 3-dimensional collar. I didn't notice that before, and that's really cool.
Yep, sure is.
Season 12 is a CG thing. That's what I'm saying. And it's not models. It was
Yes.
a CG Sir Topham hat, but it had a 2D suit. It was like it's like he was wearing a Sir Topham hat Halloween costume that was like a fucking snowsuit, or it's like some sort of weird skin tight thing. It's really bizarre.
I just pictured Sir Topham hat in a skin tight suit, and I don't want that picture in my head.
That's basically the clothes he already wears. He's
I
so
want
fucking fat in the CGI series, and his clothes are so tight. It's disgusting.
That's nasty. I want that picture out of my head immediately.
It's not a new picture in your head. That's just how he dresses in the CGI series. He's got like fucking gray yoga pants that he wears around everywhere.
I'm wearing yoga pants right now, actually.
Wait, really?
No, like they're like sweatpants, but I guess they're like kind of yoga pants.
That's disgusting. Okay.
It's not like my ass is getting shown off.
All right.
Because I know you ladies would want
Matt,
that.
shut up. Okay. So, yeah. So Sir Topham Hatt has a 3D collar in this movie, and that's great. But like I said, we're 20 minutes in, and only now do we see the humans. It's just really weird. So, okay. So Thomas is sitting on the main line. So the scene opens with them saying Thomas was really busy the next morning, and he's sitting on the main line with one flatbed. And he's not doing anything, and he's not busy, and he's got one car behind him. No brake van, he's just sitting there, not doing anything, but the narrator stresses that he was really busy sitting in the middle of the countryside, like staring at a fucking cow. But the animators are too cheap to even animate a cow in this movie, so it's just trees and grass, like I said. So he's one flatbed, how is he busy? Both Thomas and Percy abandoned their trains. That just can't be good. I don't really have much to say about that, but it can't be good.
It just can't be good.
It just can't be a good thing for a railway. Just, hey, Percy, can you take my train? Sure, Thomas. But they both abandoned both of their trains on the main line. So, okay. So Thomas goes and
19%.
What?
I just said nothing. Never mind.
Okay, I won't. The engineer and the assistant engineer. Why would you use this terminology? They called
engineer
Thomas'
junior
driver the assistant engineer and the engineer.
And
if they were allowed, think about how much more interesting this would have been if the driver and fireman were allowed to talk and they were allowed to say, they were allowed to be sort of authoritarian figures and say, hey Thomas, maybe you should tell Sir Topham Hatt about Hiro. You're being a fucking idiot. Well, maybe not. Like there would have been an interesting conflict, and Thomas would have had like a father figure, because Sir Topham Hatt only appears a couple times in this film. And all he does is tell Thomas to go find mail cars. He's not like a human being that ever sympathizes until Thomas tells him about Hiro. And that's not good, because this entire film, other than the 2 or 3 side characters that don't get a lot of screen time, is full of boring robots that are emotionless, poorly acted, poorly animated, and just speak like babies. It's really terrible.
There's noises coming from my house right now, like really loud noises.
Are they getting picked up on the microphone?
I hope you can't hear it on the microphone. But there's really loud noises.
Okay.
I think my parents are like moving furniture or something like that. I don't actually know.
Is that the excuse when you were little and you walked?
So Hero of the Rails is very.
When you walked in on your parents in the bedroom and they told you, "Oh, we're just moving furniture, Matt."
The story is very well. I mean, they were picking up the bed, so yes.
They were picking up the bed, and your father was also picking up your mother at the same time.
Okay, so I might actually edit that out. That's so nasty.
Okay, so Percy has when Thomas runs.
I need a second. I'm sorry. Hold on. No, I need a second.
No, it's funny. It's
okay.
Matt. It's funny. Come on.
And I'm back.
Okay, so Thomas runs into Percy, and Percy has a different flatbed than earlier, because Thomas told Percy, okay, I need to go, help Hiro. Can you take my farm machinery? And he's like, yeah, sure. And then he runs into Percy later. I was like, what the fuck did you do with my farm machinery? This is a different flatbed from earlier. What are you doing? And so then Spencer shows up, and there's like this really weird shot that's like 20 seconds long of them just talking, and it looks like they just dropped the camera on the ground and left it rolling. Like, there's no reason for the camera to be so low to the ground and it never cut. It's like 20 seconds long and really far away. It doesn't look like they're making a movie. It just looks like the cameraman dropped the camera on the ground and walked away and forgot that they were filming. It's really strange, and it's something they couldn't have done with the models. So it's obviously like a genuine specific choice that the animators made. Why they did this, I don't know.
Yeah, this movie also started... Well, that's because the animation, stuff like that. This was the first one to really do animation, but this is the first movie that really started the thing of, like, the point of view shot from in the tracks, and the train goes over the tracks.
No, but that was cool. This isn't one of those shots. It's just it's off to the side of the rails, and then Spencer puffs off. But it's like a 20-second shot, and it's just sitting in the dirt. And you're listening to Thomas and Percy and Spencer talk, like, 40 feet away from the camera, really far away, and the camera's just sitting in the dirt. And it's like, why would you, when you're making this movie that's animated and you can get from any angle, but it's just a dialogue scene, it's like, well, what have we not done? We didn't drop the camera in the dirt. Oh, okay, we'll do that, sure. So Thomas and Percy go to the Steamworks in a really boring scene, and Victor doesn't object to them being stupid. Like, they tell them the whole Hiro story, and Victor's like, oh, okay, I accept this. And the only reason I'm complaining about this is because Victor is seemingly the only competent engine on the island. So why would he, like, in any other situation, you wouldn't object to it, because all of these characters are written like idiots. It's like, okay, you know, whatever. If he accepts this, he accepts that. But Victor is the only character who feels, like, smart and, like, genuinely emotional, and he has a personality, and he's a funny guy. So why would you, yeah, okay, sure. You're stealing my engine parts to build a homeless man's house without telling the federal government? Okay, whatever. So Sir Topham Hatt walks into the sheds, and he speaks like he has a really bad throat condition. This entire movie is just, you want Buzz's mail cars. Sir
Topham Hatt was on a lot of cigarettes.
And I want them now.
While they were filming the movie, Sir Topham Hatt was on like a pack a day. It was bad.
It was like 2 packs a day, man. He was Tupac. It was really bad. Tupac a day. So
he's not dead.
Yeah, so Sir Topham Hatt leaves, and like I said earlier, Thomas has a really weird, sweaty, sparkly face. It's kind of strange. And Michael Brandon says, Thomas puffed a huge puff. He doesn't say huge puff. He says...
A huge.
Michael Brandon says, Thomas puffed a huge puff. So I think Michael Brandon and Donald Trump are in cahoots. I think
it's true. It's all true.
Someone should look into that. And
I went in and dubbed over that one line for the movie. It's true.
Thomas puffed a huge puff. It's really great.
It's all true. Michael Brandon is a very good friend of mine. He's a very good friend. He helped me win this election. Thank you very much.
So yeah, it's all Michael's fault, because he was really sad that they dumped him for season 17, and they got another narrator. So he sabotaged the next U.S. election. That's okay. So Thomas tells the engines about Hiro, and the next day, what do you know? Thomas has a train with a brake van. But it's one brake van, and then they cut back to the next scene, and he doesn't have a brake van.
Oh.
But it's like one shot, and he has a brake van, and then he doesn't. But they tried once. They showed to us that they put the effort into rendering one brake van. Okay, sure, I guess. So then Percy's talking about how he lost his mail cars. There's such much, for whatever reason, both Hero of the Rails and Tale of the Brave have such a weird emphasis put on mail cars. Both of these movies obsess over the fact that Percy pulls the mail train, and neither one of these movies has Percy as a main character. So it's just mail cars, mail cars, mail cars. All they talk about in Tale of the Brave and Hero of the Rails is just Percy and his fucking mail cars. And it's really weird in this movie because there's only 2 of them, and Sir Topham Hatt is freaking out because Percy lost his mail cars. Are you honestly telling me that there's only 2 mail cars on the entire fucking island? That's it?
That's definitely not true, because they've pulled more of them in, like, past episodes.
There are so many mail cars, and Sir Topham Hatt is talking about, like these are really special things, and it's like, Percy's exclusive mail cars, and they're very expensive to get, like the wooden models or something. And it's like, you need to get these, and you need to get these now, the mail cars are lost. What do you mean? That's like if Sir Topham Hatt was complaining that Thomas lost 2 troublesome trucks. You know how many fucking troublesome trucks there are on the island? I think you can lose 2. Jeez. Okay. So,
what if both of them were troublesome brake fans?
That'd be a little different. If they're white-faced troublesome trucks, that'd be a little different. So
That'd also be racist.
Like I said earlier, throughout the entire film, every time Thomas and Percy are together, they like to reiterate the idea that Thomas and Percy are best friends, even though that's not even like a concept that this movie plays on. That's not like a main theme of the movie is Thomas and Percy's friendship. It's just a fact that they keep bringing up, and it's really weird. So they go and see Hiro, and there's like a really genuinely good character moment when when Hiro says, like, I absolutely love the detail. Hiro says that Gordon was here earlier. His face is very strange. It completely changes when he smiles. And it's like, oh my god, wait, you're right. That's really funny. It's like they're bringing up some weird animation error in the dialogue, and it was really funny, and it was a really genuine character moment in a film that is so devoid of any human emotion. It was just really weird.
You're getting
it was like
so mad about this.
It was even.
And it doesn't matter.
Like it was so weird that like the fact that they did something good is a bad thing because it was inconsistent. It was like, okay, are you going to be smart or are you going to be really dumb and just emotionless? Make up your mind. So it's the middle of the day, and Thomas and Percy say, "Good night, Hiro." What?
Good night, Hiro.
It's the middle of the day. "Good night, Thomas and Percy, my new friends." It's like, you say good night, and it's like clearly bright outside. And the next scene isn't nighttime either. So why? Okay. So they keep running into Spencer over and over again, and he's getting all suspicious. And then he says, "I know Steely Spencer can follow Tom." What?
Steely Spencer?
What
a
what
shitty name.
You can be Sly Spencer. You can be Sneaky Spencer. He says Steely Spencer will figure out what's going on.
What if we have to split this episode up into two halves? Like, Hero the Rails Part 1, Hero the Rails Part 2.
We're almost done here.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
So then Spencer runs into Emily, and it's a decent scene. It's not terrible, but Emily's just like a sassy black lady. "I don't know what Thomas is at, man. I ain't Thomas. You go find Thomas, motherfucker." "Oh, yeah.
Ain't nobody got time for Thomas.
Ain't nobody got Thomas. Thomas is a very busy engine, blah, blah." And
I thought they were barbecuing.
Like, it was weird, but it was funny, so I kind of accepted it. It wasn't just another robotic scene where just, "I don't like you, I don't like you," where most of the movies like that. There's like 4 or 5 scenes in this movie where people actually convey emotions, and that was one of them, because Emily's just like, "Thomas is a busy engine, motherfucker. I don't know where he is. I'm a strong, independent woman. I don't need no man, motherfucker, yeah." And so Spencer's like, "Okay, so I'll go to the quarry." And for whatever reason, like I said, this entire movie is full of Thomas, Percy, and Spencer going to different places on the main line. And then for whatever reason, one of them is the quarry. And it's like, whoa, you can have more locations than just Tidmouth Sheds and the main line. That's incredible. And Mavis is there, and it's a funny scene, and it's an interesting scene. It's a different location, and it's like so jarring to see like a good scene. What the hell? And there's like 3 or 4 other scenes in the next 10 minutes of the film where it's like, that wasn't awful. Maybe this movie's going to get good in the second half. And it doesn't. But there's like 3 scenes where it's like, hey, this is okay. So they go to the quarry, and it's interesting.
Hold up, I'm sorry. You're talking about this was very interesting. I just got a text from my friend saying that he just shat in his car while driving.
Did he blood fart?
Maybe.
Ask him if he blood farted.
Did you blood fart? Did blood come out? He's like, "I ate a bunch of tuna for lunch."
Revenge of the Blarts, episode 3.
He said, "I ate a bunch of tuna and it came out really wrong.
Oh,
and I just shat myself
God.
while driving."
TMI, dude.
He said no blood came out.
Ew.
It's so
Okay.
gross.
So
Okay,
I'm sorry for that, audience listening.
Carry on.
All 20 of you listening to this podcast.
Oh shit.
So the quarry scene is dumb, but it's okay. And then Matt's friend shat himself. That's another bit of the plot. So,
it happened in the movie.
Okay, so then Spencer has to go to the Steamworks, and the scene another like I said, there's like 2 or 3 scenes here that are really good. The scene with Spencer trying to sleep and then Thomas like steals the trucks like right next to him is another gem. Basically anything that doesn't involve Thomas puffing around the island avoiding work is great. Unfortunately, most of the movie is just that, and it's not engaging as a film at all. I don't want to see this. Like, again, with Misty Island Rescue and this, people paid money to see it on the big screen, and there's nothing about this story that screams cinematic. There's nothing about the story that screams, I want to see this in a movie theater. It could have been just 2 or 3 episodes that had like an overarching story arc. and it would have been fine because this film is so jam-packed with filler, nothing happens. So then there's a scene where Toby and James are making out with the homeless Japanese man in the woods. And then Spencer...
I'm sorry, did you say they were making out?
Excuse
me?
They were making out in the woods with a homeless Japanese man.
This is Hero of the Rails, not your fan fiction, Vinny. Excuse me.
Okay, you were talking about your friend shitting himself in a car a minute ago, so you can't... That's eons and eons more disgusting.
Elon Musk is my favorite inventor.
Elon Musk, but okay.
Elon
Flux
is
capacitor. Yeah. All right.
I love the flux capacitor.
So they're making out with the old homeless Japanese man in the woods, and they're reconstructing his leg after being shot off in World War II. And Spencer finds the mail cars at last. I thought I will finally find out what Tricky Thomas's tricks have been trickling down to. And then they steam out, and Thomas is there for some reason, because Thomas is just everywhere, I guess. And they run into him, and then they bring him to the station, and it's another decent scene where Sir Topham Hatt is scolding Spencer. And that's something we haven't seen yet, because Spencer, this entire film, Spencer has just been roaming around the island, pulling flatbeds. There's no restraint, there's no one telling him to do his work. He just goes around the island pulling flatbeds, and it's interesting to see that the villain is vulnerable when he's being scolded by the authoritarian figure. It's a good thing in your film to show that your villain is vulnerable, which makes him more of an interesting character, so that's good. Like I said, how the hell did Hiro's boiler get replaced by two men in blue suits with a toolbox in the middle of the woods? There's no crane, there's no nothing, it's fucking magical, I guess. Maybe Lady helped, the magic buffers helped, I don't know. But,
yeah, like in that one movie that Keekre did, where Hiro was
God.
just chilling in front of the magic buffers.
And then, like, Bash Dash and Ferdinand are on the Magic Railroad.
And then they get scrapped.
That was really great. I love that.
What a good movie.
Well,
Hero's Origins.
That's a great story. So,
sponsored by Keekre24.
Okay. Yeah, check it out. Matt will put a link in the description below for the episode.
Probably not.
Probably he will. So, there's this film is so slow, but it eventually gets up to a climax. And Hiro is almost ready, and then Spencer finds him, sort of. Not even really, but just kind of. And Thomas says, okay, well, let's get the fuck out of here. And so they they start moving, even though Hiro has no driver. Who is driving Hiro?
Me.
Okay, so Matt stole Hiro, and then Matt's friend shat in Hiro's cab.
He just texted me with another
really
update. Do you want to hear it?
And then Hiro and Matt's shit friend went to see Passengers.
Do you want to hear the update about my friend?
No, I don't. I really don't.
He just said... Are you sure you don't want to hear it?
I don't want to hear it.
Okay. It's really gross.
Okay, fucking fine. Say it.
He says it's just...
Say it.
He says it's just a wet puddle of shit lying in his pants.
Oh, God. Okay. So this episode is going to be a longer one. We're just going to keep it going. We're not going to cut this.
Oh, my God.
So, so the scene with Topham scolding Spencer, now we're in a chase. In the chase scene, this chase scene with Spencer and Hiro is probably the best part of the film, and it should have been the climax, but instead there's another 20 minutes of the movie. This is the big climax. It's so obviously this should have been the climax, but there's like 3 different climaxes in this film. I don't know why. So Hiro breaks down, and it's another time where you think, okay, I'm glad they got rid of the models because they wouldn't be able to do this with the models. The CG is decent here, and it works for the chase. That's fine. So then, so who's driving Hiro? Spencer stops when Hiro breaks down. Gordon goes past with his reversed coaches because nobody knows what a brake coach is. And Spencer is such an egomaniac that he can't ignore a race attempt from Gordon. So they go racing, and it's the Duke and Duchess.
Boxford.
Of Boxford, and they stop at Maithwaite, which is
the Boxfordian ones.
So Maithwaite is a station on Thomas's branch line. This is so backwards. So Gordon is the express engine. He stops at a station on Thomas's branch line, doing Spencer's job. It's so bad. It's like a Thomas Mad Libs thing. This character goes to this station, pulling this train. Gordon is doing Spencer's job on Thomas's branch line. Okay, so the Duke and Duchess come off, and the best scene in the movie, is this scene. My favorite line in the entire film is, "Stop chasing engines, That's on a heap of scrap. It's like Spencer is stuttering and he says, "Oh, no, sir. There's this. They have a heap of scrap, sir. He's an engine and they're trying to repair him." And he doesn't object.
Chasing engines.
That's all. And he pauses 3 times and says, "Stop chasing engines. That's all. A heap of scrap." He doesn't say scrap. He says scrap.
Scrap.
Scrap. It's got an extra U and H in the title. So that happens, and they're scolding him for chasing him, I guess. And they say, and then Thomas shows up out of the fucking nowhere, the opposite direction. I don't know how that happens. I'm pretty sure that Sharon Miller thinks that the Sudrian map is like a figure 8, and engines can just loop onto each other. It's really weird. But, okay. So Thomas shows up, and they're like, Spencer clearly isn't feeling well. Can you help him, Thomas? And Spencer's like fucking pissed off, and Thomas is like, sure, man, whatever, bro. And so, they keep talking about how Spencer was put in charge of building the house. Why wouldn't Express Engine be put in charge of building a house? Shouldn't he have been the one that collected the Duke and Duchess? Why do they need him at all? Like, I mean, I forgot. Sodor only has 10 engines, so whatever.
Right, yeah, right.
Okay, so heap of scrap. Thomas comes out of nowhere, and then we cut back to Hiro, and they're talking about how we're trying to hide Hiro from Sir Topham Hatt. So I guess that's why we left Hiro on the main line, where Sir Topham Hatt would never see him, even though in the last scene Sir Topham Hatt is clearly shown to be a resident of Sodor who takes the express and frequently goes on the main line. You're fucking idiots, you people. Ugh, okay. So I don't understand, like I said earlier, the summer house is built, or the progress is being made, and Thomas puffs off. And I don't understand why Sharon thinks that Thomas is actual competition for Spencer in both speed and strength, because it's so
because
clearly...
he's the main character.
Because he's the main character, but it's so, this film would have worked so much better if the Spencer character was either a diesel or like a tank engine that was like the same size as Thomas, so that there would have been genuine competition and there would have been genuine stakes, and the audience would be actually confused and wondering, ooh, who's gonna win? There's actual stakes and there's a plot, and you'd be interested and invested in the characters. But instead they have Spencer because he's a character that we already made toys off of, so we can be lazy and not, try any harder. So there's a big chase scene, and then Spencer falls into the marshland. And
I forgot that happened too. That's how he gets beat.
So yeah, that's how he gets beaten up and shit. But so there's the second climax of the film, which is another 10 minutes in. So then Thomas abandons him, and he goes to talk to Sir Topham Hatt, and the narrator says Thomas was tired and dirty, but he managed to get to Knapford Station. He's not dirty, and he's not tired. So why did you specify that he was both tired and dirty?
Probably because the animators weren't doing their job.
Yeah, so he talks to Sir Topham Hatt, and Sir Topham Hatt's like, yeah, well, sure, I know who don't you know who Hiro of the Rails is? I watched that movie. It's a great movie. Yes, I love Hiro. Sure, we'll bring him back. Why not? And he makes it a big deal. Like they say, in this scene, they say the Master of the Railway like 6 times. The Master of the Railway, the Master of the Railway. Hiro is the Master of the Railway. I love Master.
Yeah, take a shot every time they say Master of the Railway in
You'll
this
be
movie, and also
dead.
take a shot every
You will be
time.
sitting in your car. If you
and also take a shot every time Thomas is somehow a match for Spencer.
Just take a shot every time there's an engine pulling a flatbed.
Take a shot every time Thomas appears.
Take a shot every time a character appears on screen.
Take a shot every time Michael Brandon's a bad narrator.
Take a shot every time you're watching a movie. Just
Take
the whole
a shot
time
every
you're just
time
like,
you
go,
blood
go, 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 go. So
take a shot every time you blood fart.
So then they cut back, and Hiro is like talking with the engines, and he says, "Oh, he was listening to Toby's wiseness and Edward's wiseness, and he felt bad for Hiro he felt bad for Henry for needing special coal." I'm not even gonna get into that. Henry doesn't need special coal. He hasn't needed special coal since 1984, but okay. So they go back, and they build Hiro. And Hiro is built, and it takes them like a week, maybe 2 weeks, right? And then, once Hiro is finished, then Sir Topham Hatt says, all right, now we can get Spencer out of the mud. And he says mud.
And Spencer's
been sitting
for like 2 years.
Spencer's been in the middle of the main line for bare minimum of a week and a half. Because think how long it took them to rebuild Hiro. He's a really big engine, and it took a lot of time, especially since they built him twice, and they probably fucked up a lot of shit because it was two guys with a toolbox in the woods making an engine. It's bizarre. So they spend all this time making Hiro, and then like, oh yes, by the way, there is also the main line is completely blocked, and the fen line is destroyed, and Spencer, this really expensive, shiny, fancy British engine, is sitting in the mud.
But we needed to prove a
for
point.
2 weeks, so
yeah, but we needed to prove a point.
But we wasted so much money, and the entire main line is blocked.
Except
by
he apparently
this
didn't
broken
learn his
track.
comeuppance because he's still a dick.
So then Rocky shows up and he says, "Hello, Spencer. What do you know?"
You're
It's a really
actor,
funny line
Vinnie.
delivery.
What do you?
So it's not a matter of teaching Spencer a lesson. It's the fact that the main line is blocked. You can't abandon this huge, expensive engine and its crew for weeks on end while Hiro is being repaired. Spencer's crew is just stuck because like Spencer's in like this V shape. He's stuck, so the driver and fireman can't get out of Spencer's cab,
Okay,
and he's
there's
just
no
sitting there
crews in this
in the
movie for
fucking
any
middle of
engine.
nowhere for weeks. So that
The
happens.
engines don't have any crews in this movie. What are you talking about?
But they clearly made a point to. No, they do, because they mention them by name. Just they misname them, but they still mention them by name.
The engineer and the junior engineer,
That's
right?
assistant engineer. They say that that's what it says on their birth certificate. So they show up and Hiro is repaired and Spencer's repaired and they build the summer house and he's like, you guys are both fine engines and fine friends.
Even though I was trying to kill
Even
you
though
like
I
2 weeks
literally
ago.
tried to kill you and I don't know why we're friends now, but we are. And then Hiro says he's homesick. And you think, okay, so you'd think that calling the railway in Japan would have been like the first thing that they did when they found Hiro. Like, hey, we found your engine. Just thought you might want him back, by the way. But it takes them like 2 months to actually like send Hiro back to his home. And the docks is only used in the end scene. Like, it's a different part of the docks they used in the earlier. Like, that could have just been the shunting yard. It didn't need to be the docks in the beginning scene. But now here we are at the end. And they have this whole Brenham Docks set
Finally.
that they didn't use earlier. And why did you not use it earlier if the majority of this film is just spent in various sightings of the main line? How cool would have been if they made it more interesting at the docks? So much of the slow pacing of this film could have been fixed if they varied up the locations and made it engaging for the audience, but they never choose to because it's just a boring. This could have been 2 or 3 episodes that just had a consistent plot, but it's this really slow-moving movie. There's nothing fundamentally wrong about it, like Dave the Diesels and Misty Island Rescue, but it's just so long and boring, and the only characters that are interesting are not focused on. So that's my opinion. Those are my opinions on Hero of the Rails, and Matt would like to update the audience about his friend shitting.
He hasn't texted me yet.
Good. All right. Any closing remarks, Matt?
This movie is not good.
This movie is not good, but this movie is not like I could show this to my kid and not feel terrible. It'd be fine. There's no bad morals in it. It's just really poorly done and poorly acted and poorly animated. It doesn't make any sense, and it's just boring and so stock and so artificial. Everything is so poorly done, but it's not the worst thing to come out of the franchise, and we already passed that point, and I'm so glad that we got through Misty Island Rescue.
And yet somehow this video is longer than our Misty Island video.
This video is longer than our
I
Misty
think.
Island video because we were talking about passengers and your friend shitting. So that's why.
I think even without that, it would still be longer. Don't try and blame this on me.
The other thing is the fact that I actually sat through and took notes for the entirety.
That's true. You
of
only
Misty
took
Island,
notes for
of Hero of the Rails. I got through 23 minutes of Misty Island Rescue before I had to put the DVD back in the cabinet. I could not watch the rest of it. I sat for almost 4 hours and watched Hero of the Rails this morning. So I got through it. I did it, and I'm proud of myself. And 2 weeks from now, we're going to be reviewing The Great Race. So check it out. That's not what I meant to say. The Great Discovery. I facepalm right now. The Great Discovery.
We'll be re-reviewing The Great Race.
We will be we're talking about The Great Race because that's all we did for the first year of our podcast is talk about The Great Race, pretty much. So check that out when it comes out in two weeks.
Hold on, I just got a text
Discovery.
from my friend.
All right, and check out my MySpace, you guys. Bye.
My friend says he intensely shat all over and then had to pull over and compose himself. Then he called his dad, and when he got home, He waddled into his house.
Please tell me you ended the recording.
Nope.
You cunt.